Now, we've already touched on this briefly in chapter 1 and a little bit in chapter 2, and then we avoided it mostly in chapter 3, but we're coming back to it here again in 4.12, and that's our ability to compare characters and strings. Now, this begins on page 197, and it continues on with some really good examples from there, and I'm going to let you read into those. But it's worth noting here that we can use our relational operators, greater than, less than, not equal to, and equals to, which remember is two equals, not just one equals sign. And we can do that on characters because our characters are represented as ASCII characters. And you can see ASCII pronounced ASCII. You can see just a wee bit of the full ASCII table here. And I do have over in Eagle a link to, I believe it's a Microsoft Developers Network article or the Sun Java one, I guess I don't recall, on what the ASCII characters are and how they map out. But the important takeaway is this. And you can actually, I'll let you walk through the program below. What essentially the program is doing is saying, I will take from the user a character. That character can be the numbers 0 through 9. It can be A through Z uppercase, A through Z lowercase, or characters. The period, the comma, the less than, the greater than, the tilde, the ampersand, etc. And I'm able to do this with logic because the characters themselves have numeric values. So what I can test for, and I'll scroll down just to show you how that logic works. So once the user has entered a character, you can see there on line number 15, we have an if statement. That if statement says if the character is greater than or equal to 0, so the number 0, and the character is less than or equal to the number 9, you have entered a digit. So that makes sense, right? If you look at your number row, it goes from 0, really, it starts at 0, it starts at 1, I understand. It goes 1 through 9, and then the number 0. So those are the characters that represent your digits. Now we have an else if. So remember, if I have in my selection, if I have more than one alternative, I can't just use else, else, else. I have to use else if, and then at the very last, that one is an else. That's my catch-all. So next, it's on line number 17. I have else if character is greater than or equal to the uppercase A, and the character is less than or equal to the uppercase Z. So again, that range goes from A to Z, and it is all of my uppercase characters, and I can check that range numerically because numerically the capital A through capital Z are represented in ASCII numerically. That's how this works. I can say the character rather that you entered is an uppercase letter. Finally, I'll let you look over how the lowercase letters are handled in exactly the same way. I'll come down here to line number 21, and you'll notice it's just else, and there's nothing to catch because if on your keyboard you're not entering a number 0 through 9, you're not entering a character uppercase A through uppercase Z, you're not entering a character lowercase a through lowercase z, you are entering a special character. Special characters are not digits or numbers. So that line number 22 happens in all other cases, the period, the comma, etc. Not a number, not a letter. Easy to be able to display there. Now, we can do this very same thing with strings. The reason we can do this in strings is because you'll remember a string is just an array. We'll talk about arrays in, it turns out it is chapter 7. It's just a collection of characters. And each one of those characters, as you're going through, has an ASCII value. So if I'm comparing two strings, M-A-R-Y, M-A-R-K, you'll notice that the first three letters are the same. And the last letter is different. The Y is greater than a K because the letter Y is bigger for an ASCII value than the letter K would be. So I can compare strings and I can compare characters as if they were numeric because behind the scenes they really and truly are. This change, this idea makes life for you, the developer, so much easier because now I can take an input from the user, and if I'm sorting things alphabetically, it just makes it really very, very simple to put them in alphabetic order based on their numeric, value, the precedent of what is greater. That is fantastic for you, the developer.